Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, July 25th, 2024. Now that we've had a few days of storms, we're looking for some wind and dry air to return to the Great Basin. So our impacts for the next few days are shown here. Today's another pretty active day for showers and thunderstorms in much of central and eastern Nevada, throughout the state of Utah, and up into southeast Idaho and western Wyoming. But right behind those storms, we do have some dry winds coming in. Some pretty strong winds in the central Idaho mountains today, with gusts up to 45 miles an hour or so, with RHs 15 to 25%. A little bit drier air mass, but lighter winds further south in southwest Idaho and northwest Nevada. On Friday, the thunderstorms decrease with just some lingering storms over mainly Utah and up into southeast Idaho and Wyoming. A drier air mass and some continued gusty winds pretty much everywhere. And then on Saturday, some really strong winds moving into much of Utah and southern Nevada, and a drier air mass there with those stronger winds and some lingering storms a little bit further north. Yesterday was a very active day for thunderstorms. A lot of lightning in Idaho and much of Nevada, and some storms moving in overnight into western Utah. Many of these storms were accompanied by some precipitation and some heavy precip in some areas, with those green dots here up over or around an inch of precipitation. So relative humidities are up this morning. Lots of storms over yesterday, but the air mass will dry out throughout the day today. Okay, again, with all that lightning we had in western Idaho and northern Nevada the last few days, we have a lot of new initial attack. 48 fires for over 20,000 acres. Our large fire growth was only 6, however. These ERCs did not update yesterday, but these are the values from the previous day on the 23rd, still showing very high values across the north, with some moderated values, especially over central Nevada and into parts of Utah. These values will come down a bit with the precip we had up there yesterday. Go closer look at some values over southwest Idaho yesterday, really kind of showing that we've peaked and we're going to be coming downward over the next couple of days, with cooler air mass moving into the north. Further south over southwest Utah, those values are also expected to come down, with some precip moving into the area today, and then coming back up with drier air moving in. This morning's satellite imagery is still showing the two main features here. We've got high pressure mainly over the southern half of the Great Basin, with the low pressure trough tracking across the Pacific Northwest, Northern Rockies. This has really created quite a critical weather pattern, with lots of thunderstorms yesterday, some precipitation as that moisture is drawn up by that low, but then now we're getting the dry air back in front of this low as it moves through. Okay, so for today, another round of showers and thunderstorms, this time pushing into the state of Utah, with some drying moving into the north and the northwest. We do have a high risk issued for the central Idaho mountains, northwest Nevada, and western Nevada, as the trough brings some gusty winds into those areas. So for the thunderstorms today, better chance of storms over Utah, western Utah, eastern Nevada, up to southeast Idaho and western Wyoming, with drying moving into the central Idaho mountains and western Nevada. Maximum temperatures today are still pretty hot, highs in the mid to upper 90s, near 100 in Boise, a little bit cooler in Utah, where the storms will be moving in. But the main story for today is going to be these winds moving into the central Idaho mountains and northwest and western Nevada. Gusts up to 40 to 45 miles an hour possible over the central Idaho mountains. A little bit lighter in northwest Nevada, but this is especially critical given the lightning that we've had and the fires that are on the landscape right now. Minimum relative humidities are somewhat elevated today, especially over the central Idaho mountains. In fact, they're quite high this morning, but they will be dropping throughout the day. Minimum RHs are going to be getting down into the upper teens, low 20s here in the central Idaho mountains, but drier over northwest Nevada, already back down into the low teens or the upper single digits. On Friday, more wind comes in as our thunderstorms decrease, and that trough continues to track eastward, so high risk for central Idaho mountains, eastern Idaho, and parts of western Nevada. Some moisture still lingering on Friday for some isolated storms, isolated scattered storms here and there, mainly over central Nevada and the higher elevations of central and southwest Utah, and up into western Wyoming as well. And then those gusts shown here a little bit lighter tomorrow, but still gusting 35 miles an hour or so in the central Idaho mountains. And we see some gusty winds move into southern Nevada on Friday as well. On Saturday, our winds really focus into the southeast corner of the basin, so much of Utah and southern Nevada will see really strong winds and a drier air mass there um, as I guess, a little secondary wave moves through. So the minimum relative humidities on Saturday show back into the single digits across the south, or the low teens across much of Utah and northern Nevada. And the winds are going to be focused over central and southeast Utah with gusts pretty high here, up to 40, 45 miles an hour, so possible in some of these areas. Maximum temperatures come down quite a bit by Saturday as that trough moves through. It drags a cool front through the area. Highs right around 90 or the low 90s on Saturday. So pretty significant change from where we've been, especially western Idaho. They've been up over 100. That'll be a dramatic change there. And then on Saturday, just continuing storms right along this little band here in southeast Idaho. The 3-day precip totals are shown here. Most of this precip is coming today to Nevada and Utah, and then we'll see some continued showers into Friday and Saturday over southeast Idaho and western Wyoming. Sunday and into the first part of next week, we'll continue to see dry air over Utah and Nevada, really everywhere, with thunderstorms decreasing, possibly some winds continuing across the southern Great Basin on Sunday, and then dry air warming and drying continuing into the first of next week. We'll see high pressure start to build in back into the Great Basin, but definitely a break from the very hot temperatures that we have seen. And then that pattern generally continues with dry southwest flow on Tuesday. Little bit of moisture maybe across the very southern tip of the basin. On Wednesday, the high pressure kind of forming again over the Four Corners area. We'll watch for any return of thunderstorms mid to late week back into Utah. The 7-day totals shown here really just reflecting what we're expecting in the short term as we do go into a drier period in the early part of next week. And the extended forecast for August 1st through the 7th puts a lot of heat everywhere across the country. Very warm temperatures, especially over the northern Rockies and northern plains, but still very hot in the Great Basin. And below normal precipitation is expected, although we could continue to see a little bit of moisture coming in from the south into the southern parts of the basin. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.